is here to present. George. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I know you all had the athletic training. Sean's made a joke. Now you know the Iron Yard is not a workout weight gym. Either that or I just kind of run it, don't use it. So what I'm going to talk about today is what the Iron Yard is, how it works, and why it's in Tampa Bay, and why you all should be proud that you live in Tampa Bay. You know, we have 11 locations. We're very particular about where we locate. Basically, the Iron Yard is, people use a lot of different words for it. Coding Academy, a boot camp. It's an intensive 12-week training program where people come out as junior level software developers. We don't use a passive education format. It's not lecture looking at books. It's not computer-based training. It's mentorship by trained professionals that have been working in the industry for years that also know how to teach. They know how to teach people how to learn. Because anyone that's done programming will tell you, it's not learn these 5 commands and you're done. It's a craft. I mean, to me, when I look at code, when I've worked with people who've coded before, to many people it looks like very simple. But the person that created that code, they had a whole palette, right? They decided what brush to use, what shape, whether to put yellow there, because there's an art to program that they wanted to design. So it's very important to us that people learn that it's a craft and that it's a lifelong craft. As I said, we use experienced people that have worked in the profession for years. We have 2 local teachers, Brian Burridge, who is going to teach Rails engineering, and we have Justin Herrick who's teaching front-end engineering. Last thing I'll say about this, people use the idea of a boot camp, and you hear that all the time. It's a training boot camp. Have any of y'all ever known a young man or woman that's gone into a boot camp, joined the military? Okay, you see the way they look before they go, and you see the way they come out, a complete transformation, right? We attempt to do that, and we're very successful. Everyone that's ever gone through any of our programs in any of our locations has gotten a job in the field within 60 days. But the reason we call it a boot camp, it's not 9 to 5. We're set up so that there's a lecture from 9 to noon, and then there's lab time for the rest of the day. Then you'll go home, maybe eat something, and then do homework till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. You're actually working 60 to 80 hours a week for 12 weeks. What happens at the end, we have a demo day, and I invite anybody in the community to come out to our demo day. I'll have Sean send it out. When you see what students have been able to do that never coded before. I went to a demo day in Greenville, South Carolina, and I talked to the students before. And I'm used to going to a lot of business competitions where, and you've seen them here, and you've seen them in Startup Weekend. People say, this is what my company's going to do, and we use the phrase stubbed out. They're placeholders, they're static images for what's going to happen. So I went to this graduation ceremony, I assumed it was the same thing, until this woman showed me her program. She'd never programmed before. It was a scavenger hunt of people around the city taking pictures, and it was geolocating to her website live and in real time. And when you realize this woman had never written a line of code, but was able to use APIs and bring all of that in, it's really remarkable. Here's why we're excited about Tampa Bay. Y'all are here because you believe in entrepreneurship, innovation, and I think you can't pick up a newspaper without hearing the way out of the economy is to create startups, to create innovation. I believe that. Obviously, all of y'all do. But here's the thing. The reason that works is it keeps businesses current, but attracts new businesses. One way to attract a new business is to have a talented workforce. Talented workforce in those tools that new businesses are using. So you look at, here's the best way for me to explain it. Everybody talks about trees. They say trees are a renewable resource. I can grow a tree, I can cut it down, then in a couple decades, we've got another tree again. And I would suggest that the infrastructure that y'all need is people. People really are the renewable resource. They'll take 20 years to change. We could change something in 12 weeks and give you the tools to actually educate the workforce. And I would just, I need to finish up, but I will tell you that the Iron Yard, the coolest, we're glad to be here. If you have a chance, we're located in a building in downtown St. Petersburg that's being finished out. It's called the Station. It's 260 First Ave South. And we expect to have a couple meetups there once the building is finished. I'd love to answer any questions. And I think that's it. Yes?
What are the youngest children that start?
Sure. First of all, we're licensed. We're licensed by the state of Florida. We're a post-secondary education. So you have to have a GED or high school diploma. However, we're starting, our first cohort starts September 22nd. After we get that under our belt, we have kids classes. There's no charge for those. And the whole idea is to introduce kids to the program at a young age. Follow up?
One more question. So I'm thinking my son's very much into computers, but he's young. And I was wondering if you could intend on maybe implementing some sort of summer program, with schools out, maybe for younger children and not just, older.
I think that's an interesting idea. I don't know if we have plans to do that. I certainly think that if there's an organization that wants to take on that task, we'd be glad to help them. Yes.
My son is turning 2 this week.
And that way too young, way too young.
Yeah, so what is the age limit?
Age? Say again. Age.
So how old does he have to be to basically?
18, 17 or 18. He has to finish high school.
Oh.
But as far as the children's
Yeah,
age,
children.
Okay, we separate them by age because there is developmental things that happen with teenagers that are different than happen with younger kids. 7 and below. Yes.
What's the cost of it?
The cost of the 12-week program is $10,000. Most people come out, the average earning is $50,000 a year. And again, we're not allowed to guarantee placement in the state of Florida, but we've always been able to place everybody within 60 days. Sir?
You said that you're selecting your areas. Where else are you, and why did you select St. Pete?
Sure. We started in Greenville, South Carolina. If you've never been there, Greenville, South Carolina has gone through this renaissance. A lot of it is because of public-private partnership. It's an amazing city. So we're in Greenville, South Carolina, and Charleston. Durham, North Carolina, which anybody that reads the newspaper in the tech world knows what's going on in Durham. Atlanta, Georgia. We're opening, we open September 22nd. We also have an academy in Orlando, that's September 22nd. And the reason we chose the area, again, it comes down to people. When you look at, well, for example, if you think of all the universities in the world, and then you think of those universities that have some kind of intellectual property, patents, that sort of thing, you've got this whole list. Would it surprise you to know that USF is number 12 in the world? In the entire world. When you add up UCF and UF, there are more patents generated by those 3 universities than the entire state of Texas university system, plus Rice and A&M. So there's this desire, right? You look at Tampa Bay Wave, started by a person, right? You look at Tech Garage, Tampa Bay Innovation Center, Greenhouse. You've got all of these people that have absorbed this culture of innovation that want the city to move forward. We're simply giving them a tool set to help them get there. Rails is used a lot in startup companies. It's fast deployment. That's why we chose the area. It's a great area. Ma'am. Ma'am.
Will you be
We don't, we're doing coding. We have 2 programs now. We're adding a third, which is mobile development. And we're pretty specific in those being intensive development languages rather than Photoshop and things like that. I'm sure there are other alternatives, but that's a market we've chosen not to get into. Yes?
Do you have, would a business that's looking for a specific programmer or database developer, would they be a good, can they connect?
Do I need
with
to
you?
write the check to you now? Here's the thing. In fact, we have a couple people in the area that have contacted us because they want a pipeline into their companies. We are actively looking for employers that are interested in our graduates. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir?
I'm not going on to, and I was wondering, I'm looking at your page, and everybody there looks significantly younger than I am.
And me. I mean, I hate that picture.
Actually, I like the picture, but anyhow. So the question is,
Yes.
you're talking about getting, programming specific. I'm guessing that there are certain attributes or traits that people have that make them more suited to this than something else.
That's true. That's true.
So the question that I have is for people who are older, like myself, and have an interest in maybe moving into an area like this,
Yes.
is there any focus on that? Do you have any information on how successful that is, how you can evaluate people, etc.?
I can talk specifically to our program and the cohort that we see. We have a woman that's starting in our St. Petersburg location who was an editor at the Tampa Bay Times. Y'all have to get this straight. Every one of your newspapers is TBT on. Or that's somebody else completely different. But she was an editor, and she had the same question. That photograph, I asked them to change it. It happens to be a bunch of people that are at the school that were gathered in Atlanta on that day they took the picture. She's in the program. We're really looking for qualities, and understand that you go through 3 interviews. I interview you. We have the instructor interview. You then have to interview with a student, either a current or former student. And the reason we do that is if you can ask them whatever you want and can essentially say, can I do this? Because it's hard, right? You've got to learn quick and you've got to do it quick. But I've got another gentleman in the class, early 30s, and the computer world passed him by. He said, I wanted to get into computers. I went to Cornell. The way into computers was through math. He said, if you've ever seen the math people at Cornell, they're really genius, and I'm not that level. So he was looking for that way. But we would ask you questions, we would give you coding examples to check out. And you have to be comfortable with programming. You have to understand it is lifelong learning. It's not something where I think I'm going to pick this up and make some money. You've got to be comfortable with that work environment. In general, it's not highly social. Julie, the cruise director, she would never be a programmer. Am I answering? But it's not limited by age. We have people of all ages.
But if you looked at people's past professions, certain professions that you would target because that was where they gravitated.
No. I'll tell you why. It really comes down to attitude. And if you're one of these people that solves problems with technology or likes to, it's a mindset, not a skill set prior to coming in. Yes?
You mentioned Rails. What other programming languages do they teach? When someone come into the program with a project and say, as part of this program, I want to work on building this.
So wait. So you want to start at weekend to spend 12 weeks? That's a good idea. You absolutely, the last 3 weeks are spent in working on a project. And if you've got, it's up to you, whatever project you want to work. But it's full stack Rails and front end engineering right now. 2 separate classes, you take one, and it'll take both. And then we'll add iOS, mobile development in the spring. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions on the ability. So one, can you tell people how you got into this? And then to sort of analogize with a previous presenter. Because for me, I don't know Pentium from Platinum. So I'm
Well, that's awesome.
self-admitted
Answer your first question. I'm not a coder. Never have been. I would be a terrible coder. You see me talking to y'all, that's what I do. My background, I had a company and sold one. Had another one, and that really sucked. I mean, it was horrible. But welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. And I was looking for something to do next. I was interviewing as an innovation consultant for a large healthcare company. And doing my research, I found this digital health accelerator in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I just breadcrumbed it back and found the Iron Guard. I taught entrepreneurship to 7th and 8th graders. I did start weekend before it was formalized. I've done probably 15 around the United States when Andrew Hyde ran it. What I always enjoyed was seeing the transformation of a person, right? Seeing that they wanted to do something, seeing they had this idea, and actually seeing them complete it, that's a huge payoff for me. So that's how I got into it. Coding, yeah, I'm not your guy. I've got great teachers though. As far as Pentium, Platinum, there are a million ways to solve this problem. How do I get someone to be a junior level developer? If you use coding hacking, things like that, it's valuable information. I use some of those to determine what class a person should take. The problem is it's passive. You chew in a computer. And here's the deal. You really only learn when you fail. If you fail on a computer, who knows? Who cares? What are you going to do next? It's putting you with, we limit our classes to 15, it's putting you with 15 other people who are all failing, getting frustrated, pissed off, and figuring out how to solve the problem. And that's why we make it 12 weeks. That's why we develop it the way we do.
I was wondering, you were talking about trying to develop your relationships with the industry in order to be a pipeline for your students. Based on your history, what percentage of your students are really looking to go that route versus trying to go into their own business?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think each city is different. Since we haven't, our first class is September 22nd, we still have openings. But what happens is, many times, I tell you what happens in Greenville, a percentage of those students wind up working in the startup community. Because Rails developers in this area are really hard to find. A lot of people are using .NET, but Rails developers are hard to find. And I think if you talk to anyone in the recruiting area, they will tell you they have to go outside the state sometimes to get those people. But that's, many of them start their own businesses. They freelance and start a business. But we've had people, benefit focus up in Charleston. We've had large companies, and there are a couple large companies here that we're meeting with.
Okay.
And the last thing I have to say, we have an employer advisory board, and the reason we do that, we take people from small and big companies, and they're kind of our personal trainer. They keep us honest. They make sure that we are teaching what the market needs.
Well, if I can add to that, with what you're saying is, with working with startups, we realize that they have a hard time connecting and finding those people with a skill set too. So at Tech Garage, when we open our co-working, we have a special designation for designers and developers who are interested in working in that community and engaging with entrepreneurs. So we would love to engage with you.
Well, we can say no to that. Yes, sir.
Is there a particular language that you specialize with to provide a specific genre of software-based solutions?
Explain it.
Like
Not coders.
Swift with Xcode, for example.
Right. Swift in the mobile development.
Yeah, is there a particular language that you specialize in?
Boy, you know what? I can give you the email of our teachers, and they can tell you Backbone versus Angular, that sort of thing in JavaScript. We are the I would say the finer points. I absolutely refer you to teachers because I don't know that. I apologize. Sir?
And you said you have 11 locations?
Yes.
So what constraints you have in 20 locations?
That's a good question. I will say very honestly, it's above my pay grade. I'm not one of the partners of the company. I will tell you that if you grow too rapidly, you spread yourself too thin and you're not learning what works. I would say anytime you create a business where you're going to create multiple locations, it's better to get it down and be the best here's the thing, I would rather than be first mover, everybody focus, I want to be the first mover. Dude, I want to be the gold standard, so when I go in that area that someone's already in, you're still Yes?
Are you still looking for instructors in this area?
I'm always looking for instructors. I'm always looking for instructors. Yes, I'd love to talk to you about that.
You keep saying rails, what is rails?
I know, right? Well, there's these bike paths all through the city. It's really, and any of you that are programmers that are going to call me on this, y'all are welcome to. This is a community. Y'all are welcome. Rails is a way to deploy Ruby, which is a language, and it allows you for rapid deployment, rapid change. Okay, I was wrong, right?
You mentioned you have openings. What's the maximum size of the group?
15. It's not fair to go above that.
Do they each have their own equipment, or do they bring?
Right, we require a MacBook Air instead of a laptop. You can go higher if you want, but MacBook Air is sufficient for what we do. Yes.
I think just to dovetail on Danielle's point is that because this is like a heavy .NET, PHP, that kind of community, you can almost get the jobs, people coming out of the program and leaving Tampa Bay, there's more of a demand for Rails elsewhere. So just, I think if there's a way to really be connected with all the startups that are
I agree
emerging
100%.
there.
And we participate in Rails Rumble, but I agree 100% because I don't want to get this into a political argument, especially because I would just be making cocktail talk because I don't know the details. But I know you have some big hitters that are .NET and that are using legacy programs.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see the school really stay, because I used to teach at like an IDP kind of program.
Yes.
And they focus to where are the most jobs, so we can get the most students and have to get the most funding for the students and the seats and keep putting people through. But, you could really connect with the startup community here and do that as opposed to, hey, who's bringing up,
Right.
where's the demand there, and then the program.
And I want to add something on to that too. You didn't ask about this, but talk about keeping people local. One thing we don't do, we don't charge a finder's fee to people that hire our people. I mean, it's really important to us that there's a good cultural fit between the person and the job. So, like, you'll read nationally, there are some companies that's who make most of their money actually. They'll say, I'll give you this person, but I want 20% of their salary. You know what? It's between the student and the employer. And you are student fees employment agencies? Absolutely. Because sometimes they are the best connection into a job that I could never get. Yes, sir.
You're gonna go nationwide and worldwide with this?
Again, above my pay grade. I'm one person, but I know that here's what's important to the CEO. Education is changing. Love education. I will tell you, I've been at a very well-known school in North Carolina where I've given a talk on Startup Weekend. You would be surprised at the CS people that do not know what GitHub is as a repository, that have never, ever programmed. One of my students has a degree in information management systems. She's never sat in a So we'd love to change education. Oh,
Well, I think it's awesome that you're here. Welcome to Tampa Bay. Happy to give up and be a success here in town.
all right, there are two things I need, really. 3, 4, 5. Is this Christmas? Do I get it or Hanukkah? So here's the thing. We love being here. We need to spread the word about what we're doing so that startup companies know that we're here. So that those of you that have children, co-workers, especially when jettison them out, so like that, relatives, you can pass the word along. So any of you that have a large mail list, you just want to tell people about what's happening in Tampa Bay, I'd be glad to write something for you. If you work for an employer, please talk to me because I want to make sure that we're teaching people what you need to know. And that's it, Sean. Perfect. Thanks.
Is there Okay, so the easy way to remember it is just keep calling it the same times.
Yeah, exactly.